Hi, this is K.N.Fitzwater, also known as Arduous Spark on Twitch, and we're going to continue our lives, beginnings, and always. Third episode. Here we go. I finally got around to editing. I realized I turned the music way down low. So whatever voice acting or music that happened in the second episode, you guys didn't get to hear it. So hopefully it should be heard. I'm also going to try to change up how I'm doing the voice acting. I came off really soft, and that was not my intention. But today, we are going to continue on with our dear Cove. Now, once again, I am selecting the choices that I had made in my first playthrough. And we're going to keep doing that until I finally caught up to where I had left before I was able to share this game to you guys. I didn't realize how much I really want to show this game. So, now I'm trying to figure out which one I'm going to go through first. I think it's the sandcastle. We're going to go sandcastle, then long day next. And we're going to make sure that we don't go over the time. I also want to say thank you for watching my previous episodes. I really appreciate it. I wasn't sure anyone was going to go watch these. So it's so nice that people actually don't mind these kind of videos. So we may do more of these in the future. I want to catch up Ava 1 to what we're doing currently in our D&D game. There's so much episodes I want to put in after this game. So after this game, we'll do some D&D. Then we'll dive into some other story games. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shiloh sat out at the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering in blue. Another reminder of the places he can go. From what you heard about Cove's own life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell he'll do anything to be able to get the cast off. The possibilities of what he might get up to made you anxious. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad. It had all of your favorite things in it. But sitting there on the same beach you've grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you do. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said aloud what you've been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently, soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean, and huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids. Yeah! Now, I'm not going to select mermaids aren't real because I was really into fantastical creatures, and when I was growing up, I had this suspicion that they might be lurking around the corner, and we're just not allowed to see them. Sort of like a protection program going on with the mystical creatures. Um, so I would not select this. um, but I never swam in the ocean. I swam in the pool. I could say this. I'm fine on land, he said, all right. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. As he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was playing around while were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll get good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff. Now, this is true. When I was young, uh, we don't have a beach. We were landlocked, but we always have like a tub of sand to play with, and I always loved playing sand in everyone else's sandboxes. For some reason, my parents never got around to create a sandbox for me and my brother to play in. And I really don't know why. Okay. He put his hands back in his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh focusing more intently than you ever seen him, guiding Cove through his process. Happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, and add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you've got great ideas. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle. Cool. This is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make. Now, I ended up with this. When I was growing up, I only did the bucket fort, where you put the bucket and you put little tiny ridges on the top, and you put a flag on there, and you have a little fort tower to defend against monsters or whatever. So that's all I did. We didn't have a lot of sand to play with. That's all I was able to do. So this was the smallest option I could get my hands on. But honestly, I would not make a house. I would make like a tower of sorts. Or, fantasy creatures. One of those two. If I had more sand to play with. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a normal house. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. I still love the animation in this novel. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you built. Seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of the shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a red bottle cap, because of Fallout. They're worth a pretty penny. It was the best fit for your house, you decided, and it seemed like the lid from the sports drink that Lizzie was trying to convince your moms to let her try. So you tucked it away somewhere secured inside, barely poking out to make sure it didn't get lost. Pleased with your results, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. I went with this because if they're not peeking at my stuff, I decided not to peek. And I didn't want to break the rules that we were engaging in. You instead watched some clouds go by. The silence was then broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peek closer and discover something shiny sticking out Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke. It's good. That's smart. I put down, yeah, I didn't think of that, if I remember right. It's been a couple of weeks now since I did my first playthrough. You really know. Oh, I'm sorry, this is my character. You really know a lot about this. Shiloh smiled without a word, and that was that for the current topic. Cypher, can I see what you did? Sure. He began surveying your work. You built a comfortable little house with a tree in the front yard. The tree had been hard to keep standing up by itself, but it turned out pretty well. Shiloh quickly decided to jump in the new conversation. Hey, Cypher, what did you do? I made a house. I built a house too. It's so neat. No one else has a castle. Yep, it's just you. Poe phrased that as though it was a point of pride. Shiloh's sing-songy tone gave the impression of something else. You weren't quite sure. Poe's confused face meant he must have felt it was strange. There was nothing wrong with doing something different, you thought. Maybe Shiloh didn't feel the same way. If something's the only one of that thing, it makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual. I don't think I'm that special. Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. Aha! Here's the conundrum. This is one of those fun conflict dynamics that you could put in your own story about clashing value sets. You have one that's about individualism, such as Cove, and you have another that is about conforming with others, such as Shiloh. Shiloh wants to fit in. That's why he's always glomming onto Lizzie. That's why he always follow other people's directions. He likes to just get along, be along, but he wants to blend and be part of something because he doesn't have the confidence as of yet to be his own person. Whereas Cove was taught to embrace his individual uniqueness very early on because he is pretty unique looking right now. And probably was very unique when he was growing up. It's probably a way for his dad to help him get through any sort of bullying for standing out. If he had been bullied, I really don't know. I hope not. But this is one of those dynamics you could put into your story as well, and I think it's lovely to see that here in this novel. Okay, so we're gonna get back into this. I'm not different. A bee passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered, leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. He didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your moms met my dad, Cypher? You blinked, not expecting the question. You thought hard. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, it was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Cypher's parents and my dad met the same day I met her. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow of his face. You could tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. So this is a choice. Do I let Shiloh be included because he feels somehow the third wheel of the party, or do I let Cove, who normally doesn't speak, say a few words? In my first playthrough, I let Cove finish a story, but in retrospect, I felt like I should have let Shiloh talk. But we're trying to keep to the original playthrough, and I'm going to let you be the judge. Shiloh could talk about stuff after Cove had a chance to share what he had planned on. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. Sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. Didn't want to go out because I know Dad will make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore because he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away, and behind the houses, I found all those hills there. Ones where we met for the first time. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Is that it? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised. That's all that happened. So we have some choices. Okay. Why did you want to tell the story if nothing happened? You really gotta get better at telling stories. That was a pretty bad story. Or thanks for letting me know. Or telling me. I went with this. I was a little bit blunter back then. I'm a little bit better now. Sort of. But back then I was a little bit blunt when I was a kid. Well, it kind of didn't have a point, you know? But that was how our parents met. I didn't make the story up. Oh, it's not really my point. Cove just was not understanding the issue here. Shallow's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why do you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders. Well, I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved to here. Dad showed me the beach first before he went back to the car to unpack. I was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. He thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Yeah, poor Shiloh felt really ignored. But he has a chance now to say something after Cove's story and try to get back to his original point. Shiloh fidgeted. Oh, sorry. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh. Yeah? Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't his own. Maybe it wasn't only this. Perhaps it was simply the last straw. But it was a big deal to Shiloh. A huge deal. He didn't look he didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry, run away, or what. You soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses and nobody is named Cove. Who asked you to come? It was probably just your dad begging Cypher's family some more because you don't have anyone else who will ever play with you. Um, Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't even know how to mention. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'll get upset about, though you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. Uh, I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. Uh, I forgot what I selected. Hey, let's build another sandcastle. You tried to play on your own. Are we gonna build more? Or you nervously mess with the sand? Um, I think it was the last one I selected. You picked up some sand and turned it over in your hands. There didn't seem to be much you could do to stop the fight. You weren't sure what to do with yourself. Cove looked over at what you were doing and started building his own set of walls. Shiloh took a breath before kneeling back on his own patch of sand. It seemed they both decided to try playing again. You were glad for that. Y'all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever as to why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. Cove and Shiloh had mostly followed your lead and barely said a word. Mom standing behind him, even Shiloh's goodbye had been quiet, friendly, cheerful, but noticeably quiet. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. You followed him as he made his way out of the sand. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. You asked Cove what he's thinking. The prospect of asking made you nervous, but you did anyway. Hey, is everything okay? Oh, I was just wondering. Poe fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why Shiloh act like that? When I said he was all red a lot. Okay. You were being rude to him. He was just being a baby, which is not something I would have said. You shouldn't make fun of him, which is close to what I was wanting to say. I don't know, it's just Shiloh, which really does diminish Shiloh's issues. He gets embarrassed, which it's a possibility. You shrug at Cove with no answer to give, so it's one of these two that I would have said. And went with this, if I remember right. You were being rude to him. No, it wasn't. It looked like that to me. And I wasn't just saying that one thing. You were not very nice to Shiloh. I didn't mean it like that. Shiloh's kind of weird to talk to. See? That's kind of rude. I guess. I can't get it. Why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. What Shiloh said didn't make sense anyway. Parents always talk to other parents and set up stuff so their kids play together. Hmm. My dad didn't do anything weird. You struggled not to make a face at that. His dad definitely did something weird to try and get you to spend time with Cove. But Cove didn't know that. Now, I did not tell him about the money thing, but I did side with him that Shiloh shouldn't have said what he said about his parents. Or parent. Cove's shoulders relaxed. He hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I knew the whole time Shiloh shouldn't have been saying things like that. You nodded, but you didn't speak. You kept your eyes firmly on the ground. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. Bye, Cove. Your parents hadn't planned anything else for you, though you knew that you'd see him eventually. Cove nodded, already turning away. Bye, Cypher. You made your way to your house at a leisurely pace, going up the driveway to get to the front door. Before you went inside, you looked back. Cove was halfway to his house, his hands shoved into his pockets. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad, or something you shouldn't. Might change your mind sometime. There's always tomorrow, after all. But for now, it was definitely something that you kept to yourself. With a final look, you went inside your house. And that was Sandcastle. I forgot how big of a mood that was. But growing up, sometimes I have to be the mediator. I would have done something to try to break up the fights, so to speak, and try to make everyone see eye to eye. That was when I was in my early elementary years. In my later elementary years, which is where this age group is, um, I learned that it's better to kind of take them away from each other and talk to them on an individual basis. And that way, they come to their own conclusions and they took the time to come back to each other and make up whatever disagreements or arguments that they had. And that's why I did what it did with Cove. Even though I didn't say anything at that moment to help take care of the mood or anything, I was able to help Cove learn from what had happened. And hopefully, he will make better amends in the future. So, that is Sandcastle. We're going to move on to A Long Day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove hadn't arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel, I would feel, I would say nothing really, because I don't mind his company, but I don't like being the one that has to come up with ideas. Shiloh went along with whatever you wanted, so he wasn't a bother, but he also wasn't that much fun. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone. You still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet. Something like a popsicle. Those little tiny push pops that really cut into the side of your mouth. That's what I had when I was growing up. You wanted something fruity and brightly colored. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but there were shops and demanded payment in exchange for the products. You voice your predicament out loud. I want a popsicle. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up. Oh, that sounds good. We don't have anything like that in the house. I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus one stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion. He had been watching you expectantly. It's a start. Shiloh beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisp of dust, or sandy crumbs. But every so often, one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Shallow held his breath as he counted the coins again. $2.53 and two buttons. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would follow canceled out any other feelings you might have about that. Yeah! You can now afford something at the shops. Just one thing. But that was infinitely better than none. Charlie clapped his hands. Yay! The two of you dash outside. Promise of sugar buoyed you onto your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to the landscape of the treat. You seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting a popsicle? Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. You went ahead and got what you wanted originally. Are you really sure it's okay? You both tried to get something you both wanted anyway. So I went with the middle one because I do this all the time. Yeah. Really? Really? Please, you bought the dessert you longed for. Sweet success. Finally, the reward for all of your hard work was in your hands. You sucked on the fruity popsicle you bought. The icy treat cooled you down perfectly. The zesty flavor was refreshing. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head. Germs? Ew. No. You could finish it. He didn't want any? Does he like me? I like how any sort of obstacle becomes a really big, huge thing. And I really like that about this game. And the decisions that you make and how you treat others is also very important too. So this is really ticking off a lot of boxes in my list. This is a really, really fun game. After everything he did to help get it, that was weird. But you accepted the offer. You tried to include Shiloh. You hesitated. After a while, you just have to give in. You just have to give in to their nice offers. You're just going to have to deal. There was no point arguing. It was already melting under the rays of the sweltering summer sun. You eagerly tugged back in. Old sugary treat quenched you in ways that the water couldn't reach. The two of you began to head back home as you ate. You were glad, too, to get the treat all to yourself. Only half wouldn't have been nearly as good. Even so, you couldn't help but wonder what Shiloh was thinking. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt. He was too afraid. Or maybe he is just happy to make other people happy, and he doesn't need the reward. He's probably one of those that enjoy giving gifts and just watching people open them without receiving gifts in turn. For the longest time, I wasn't able to understand this concept, but as I get to know other people, especially those around my mother's age and up, there are some people who really don't like receiving gifts, but they love to give gifts to others. And they just really love seeing people happy all the time. Um, so it was a concept I was trying to grapple with for most of my growing up. So he's just one of those. He just likes the reward of helping people. So I would not be surprised if he ended up being like some sort of um, uh, social service person or something to that effect, like a firefighter or a counselor or something like that. Maybe. We'll see. You figured that was his problem and didn't care? Are you scared of me? You thought that was kind of sad? Are we friends? I went with this one. Shiloh opened his eyes wide, seemingly caught off guard by the blunt question. Yeah, I think so. He says that, but friends should be able to talk to each other without being scared. If Shiloh wouldn't do that, were you really friends at all? He rubbed his hands together nervously over your non-reaction. I'm sorry. I'm not sure how sorry he could be without knowing that he's even apologizing for it, but you shook your head. I've been the apologetic kid before. I've been there. I always apologize on everything. He didn't do anything. It was true. Shiloh hadn't done something mean. It's gone out of his way to make you happy. That didn't seem like it should be a bad thing, yet it bothered you. I just don't know if you like me. It's like it doesn't matter what I do, you're gonna act the same. I could be anybody. You wouldn't care. See, that's a little harsh. See, I went with the friends part because I was hoping to see if there was some sort of, really puppy crushes or anything like that. So for this to come out from the story, I was like, ooh, I was not expecting that. No, I like you. I really, really, really like you, Cypher. I just want to be friends. Okay. Still kind of sus. I saw you vented electrical. I'm gonna have to vote you out. You smiled hesitantly at him and his fidgeting ceased. Even though you weren't sure you believed him, this was only making things worse. We decided that maybe they were all kind of type of friends. That was a mouthful. You decided that maybe they were all types of friends. If Shiloh wasn't able to do things differently, this would have been alright. Charlie made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There have been good times and there have been confusing ones. You were positive one thing at least, the treat was delicious and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw tears in Cove's face. Cove is crying! Nose! Who would have thought? You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you... Defendant Cove took a moment to make a joke, accused Lizzie of causing trouble. Carefully ask about what happened. Which... You're gonna see why. Without a time machine, the only way you're going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Okay, so where were you in the July 24th and at 8 p.m.? Making cookies? I see. I see. Very suspicious. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You just wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? Cypher. I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Oh man, I'm sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Someone's gonna get a whipping from this girl. Her heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up to that point. She looked pointedly in your direction. Uh-huh, I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I could do? No, I just gonna stay away. Or you can help teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're slow. They will never catch you. I had suffered this ding-dong ditch multiple times when I was growing up. It was not fun. And they only did that because I was having issues with my neighbors. I was one of those really good, squeaky clean kids that don't like getting into trouble. And they didn't like that. And we had many, many conflicts. And that was one of the things they had done so many times to me and my family. It was really annoying. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again. You're just saying that because you're a cluck-cluck chicken. Cove glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not chicken, are you? Yeah, cluck cluck. You'd rather just avoid them? You thought they deserved worse? What are you gonna do? Murder them? Or I'll do it. No, I went with the avoiding route. I'd rather do that. If you just don't like them, you avoid them as much as you can. Which doesn't always help. Honestly, those people are not going to last long in their lives and you're going to outlive them. It's best to just leave them alone. But that's hard to understand when you're a kid. You don't know how much of a life expectancy you have before you. You kind of live in the very present moment. You look at the house. Behind those closed doors look two beings, rich in years but poor in patience. Maybe they deserved retaliation. Maybe they didn't. But that punishment wouldn't be coming from me. It was safer to stay away from them. You could live without the hassle. I'm not doing it either. Another chicken for the coop. This is a hen house now. If we're chickens, you're a lizard, Lizzie. She wagged her tongue at his face. Still better than a bird brain. Chicken. The condo door opened, revealing one of the two culprits. The old man's wizened face was set in a scowl, which was to say he looked exactly like he always did when you saw him. Maybe that was his normal face. Hey, bulldog! You could talk to me. Oh man, what are you two kids doing outside my yard? Stop shucking in my wood. Or maybe he was just in a terrible mood. Nothing. Nothing. He repeated the word as if it was the greatest crime anyone could commit. Nothing good, more like it. Now get lost. Snappers. If it wasn't as if he owned the space outside the house, but Cove's eyes, still red from his earlier tears, were wide, and he thought it would be best to heed the old man's command. Lizzie took off, with Shiloh meanly trailing after her without so much as a glance back in your direction. Oh my goodness, I'm so out of it. So much for your friendship. That's okay. I mean, people are going to have favorites. Lizzie is his favorite friend. You're just a friend. You're just gonna have to deal. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin.
Cove.
Hey, Cove! Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversations. Yeah, they're like total BFFs. In the back of your mind, you know you'll be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It's always been like that. I think I selected this because I would feel a little bit jealous if I was a kid. But if it had happened right then and there, like right now, I would have selected this. You can tell how much time has come. You have been hoping the two of you might have been closer, but you had to let it go. He was happy where he was. You closed your eyes, laid on your side, and relaxed. Some time passed with you like that. Oh, some time passed with you like that. It felt good to take a real break. I still love this. Hold on, let me fix it. You move onto your back with a small smile and look at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under in the cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, a car, an alpaca, a smiley face. You just saw cloud shapes, you silly. I would have selected dolphin. I tend to see rabbits when I was growing up. All sorts of bunnies, sometimes dragons. That's what I normally had saw when I was growing up. You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Look, a dolphin! Oh, I still love this animation. Just the eye blink just really makes it pop. Cove joined you in gazing skywards. Yeah, I see it too. Really?
Mm.
No, but I like dolphins. Hey! He chuckled at your reaction. Oh, this. That whole day to night transition. I always love that in animes and in Azumanga Daioh. I always love that. Okay, I'm gonna try my best not to gush so much on this game. All the sun's light faded from the sky, and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with even sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach! There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You. Oh, either I wanted to go there also, or I just was happy to go along with what they wanted. Um, I'm trying to remember what I did. It was either one of these two. I'm gonna do this. The beach wouldn't necessarily have been where you chose to go next, but if that was what the others wanted, then you weren't going to spoil the fun. Oh, that's sandcastle. That's cool. You step onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. A bed in sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication how busy he had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled at your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you didn't have to be serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. Hurts the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves having bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom gonna pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Just don't! You just don't! I mean, the only reason why we talk about Cove's mom is because Cove keeps bringing it up. Oh, let me move this over. Whoop. There we go. Shallows is just a little bit shorter, so we could do this. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would anyone want to talk about something they never talked about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by the waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Cypher. I don't have a dad, um, but I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, you know what? She's a single mom. She didn't get single by divorce. She probably had him as an accident, which is okay. It's totally okay. It happens to the best of everyone. Things don't go the way you thought it would go. But in the end, you have to take these things in stride. And honestly, Shiloh's a really great kid. And there's nothing wrong in going through these life choices. Oh, sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just me and my dad with me.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom's gone. Cove nodded. You joke about Shiloh's mom getting together with Cove's dad. I wouldn't go there. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways. Yeah. Cove can muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. You retaliated. Of course I will. You use your foot to smack the water pooling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back onto your sister. You laughed as she spluttered. Some of the salty seawater had landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Hack! Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dash up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh, a cove. Alliances are suddenly forged and wordlessly broken. It's the Game of Thrones. Everything was fair, game, and war. uh, ah! Shiloh's brave exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first into the ground. That would have been bad enough without the weight that followed, cascading over his prone body. Double kill! Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain, as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any point of him that was still dry, you could see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Way to go, Shiloh, you dumbo. Oh, I would have done this. You offered him some help. What? Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. For a moment, you drop it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh, too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them. It was a trap! Oh, sorry! No, you're not. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low, but there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose when pretend was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. But that was all time to call it a day. Four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet, soggy footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze flowed past. Oh, I've been there. Being soaking wet and having your shoes splotch, oozing out some water as you step along the way. Oh, those were the fun times. Your moms were outside chatting to Co's dad. We're back! Your mom's faces fell as they took in to step you all in, ranging from messy to soaked. Oh, Elizabeth, is that all you had to say for yourself? You brought half the beach with you. They certainly did. What's Murgo going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be after the long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun. But it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. See, this is why she tries her best to lead the group to do things, usually. That she felt obligated to take care of others, at least entertainment-wise. So I'm not all too surprised that she will feel bad that she hasn't considered, taking care of Shiloh well enough. But it's also, not really her fault. The parents shouldn't have blamed her for getting Shiloh soaking wet. She would not have expected, that his mom would be upset about him being soaking wet. Because kids don't think about like how it's going to affect furniture, how it's going to affect cars, how it's going to affect, the items that you use for everyday transportation or living in a home. They don't think stuff like that. So, I don't know. I didn't quite agree with them scolding her. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Coe's matted hair. You've been out making buddies, bucko. I'm glad you got a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gone wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove, let's get you cleaned up and dried off. We haven't want that cast to have been reset. Cove winced at the thought.
Okay.
Hey, that a boy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sam was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night, Flair family, and Shiloh's too.
Fine.
Well, we better do what we can to fix you guys up. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom.
Ugh.
Yes, Mom. Okay, Shiloh's mom. Don't worry about stepping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found you waiting in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh should wash first and borrow some of your clothes. It was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go to the tub next. It wasn't a bubble as she had hoped, but there was a no fun allowed clean up session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer, and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad that there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounding like a great idea. Hmm. And that's it for today's episode. If you like this, please do give me a like. And if you have any thoughts about how you enjoyed your summer days as a kid, go ahead and leave them down below. I really like the story. I'm going to keep on playing. And I'll see you next time. Bye.